News out of Nigeria, where the United States have launched unprecedented strikes against ISIL fighters. An official says they were carried out in Sokoto State in the country's northwest. President Donald Trump says US forces targeted what he called terrorist scum, claiming the group had been targeting Christians in the region. Shihab Rattansi joins us now from Washington, D.C. Shihab, what else have the Americans been saying?
Well, I think one of the first questions we had when Donald Trump made the social media posted this on social media about an hour ago, was this some unilateral strike, or was this in cooperation with the Nigerian government? And in the last half an hour or so, we've had statements from both AFRICOM, Africa Command, and the Secretary of Defense suggesting this was in conjunction with the Nigerian government. AFRICOM saying it conducted a strike at the request of Nigerian authorities, and Pete Hegseth saying grateful for Nigerian government support and cooperation. This has been percolating for some time, for Christian evangelical groups for a few decades, really, and Donald Trump even mentioned it a few times in his first term and expressed, the narrative that Nigeria wasn't doing enough to protect its Christian population. But in the last 2 months or so, with congressional pressure and the State Department, they declared Nigeria a particular country of concern when it came to the rights of Christians. And we had heard that the US had begun overflight surveillance of Nigeria from an airbase in Accra in Ghana over the last several weeks. And now we have this. The interesting, but not one of the many interesting parts of this story, though, is that the narrative that Donald Trump has been using has been rejected by the Nigerian government. I know we're going to hear from Nigeria in a moment, but they're saying, look, there are a lot of people dying in Nigeria with lots of different conflicts. It's Christians and Muslims being killed for a whole host of reasons. The jihadist groups are killing both Muslims and Christians as well. This isn't just one group being targeted. This is also about resources. But the Nigerian government said, look, we'll welcome any help you have. But they also said, look, don't bomb us. We're a sovereign country. It appears now they have actually allowed the US to bomb. And what's interesting is also that in the last few weeks, we had heard from people in the State Department, from Masad Boulos, the main point man for Africa in the Trump administration, saying they accepted this was much more complicated than Christians being targeted. But now it seems the Trump administration has gone full ahead with this narrative that the Christians are being targeted. And on Christmas Day, the Trump administration acts. This will go down very well with Trump's Christian evangelical base, I'm sure.
Shihab Rattansi there, joining us from Washington, D.C. Ahmed Idris now joins us from Nigerian, on the line from the Nigerian city of Lagos. ISIL currently the target of this, but Nigeria has been fighting armed groups for years. Just give us some context here.
Well, Imran, it's curious to say ISIL is in Sokoto because ISIL operates largely in the northeast of Nigeria. And what you have there in Sokoto, if Donald Trump's administration is talking about the targeting of Christians, I think these attacks should be more concentrated in central parts of Nigeria, in states like Plateau and Benue, where we've seen several attacks, in fact, not only against Christians, but also against Muslims in those areas, but largely Christian states. So basically, for me, what most Nigerians will find curious is how Sokoto became the target of this attack. Yes, we've seen some pictures of fragments of a missile that landed outside a village called Jabo in Sokoto State. It exploded, but one social media user says it hasn't. The device exploded without injuring or killing anybody outside the village. So to look at the issue of alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria, Sokoto State is probably the last place many Nigerians will think it's happening because although it's largely more than 96% of the population is Muslim, there have been fewer attacks on Christians or few attacks on Christians, if any, that I can remember, or churches in that area. But what we've seen largely, the attacks on Christian populations are largely centered in the north central parts of Nigeria. In states like Plateau that are seeing conflict between locals, conflict between farmers and herders, ethnic conflicts between the resident communities, and of course the settler communities in those states. Similarly, in Benue State, where we've seen conflict between farmers and herders over the past decade or so, although these conflicts, you can argue, have been there for a very, very long time. The Nigerian authorities, by the way, has not responded to this yet.
Now, Ahmed, in the context of what you've just said, that for many Nigerians, the location of this attack is going to come as a surprise. But it's also going to come as a surprise that the Nigerian government asked for the US government's help in this. Previously, they have said that we are a sovereign country, please do not bomb us. But now they've asked for that US help. Do you think that is a game changer here, or is this a new strategy? What do you think?
It could be. I think it could be. But again, a lot of Nigerians are actually not keen about this so-called alliance between the Nigerian government and the American governments to target, to